In the Himalayas, two men attempt to find the lost city of Shangri-La. With relentless effort in the freezing winter, they discover evidence of the city's existence. Ancient carvings prove that the legend is real. Professor Jeffries quickly takes out an ancient manuscript to compare with the carvings, and everything matches perfectly. He feels overjoyed because he is about to find the treasure when Pemba suddenly stops. Pemba believes that they should not climb any higher because this land is forbidden. Professor Jeffries says that there are only the two of them here, so there is nothing to worry about. Suddenly Pemba discovers another footprint. Just as the roar of the abominable snowman echoes, a snowstorm suddenly begins. Pemba wants to go back down the mountain, but Professor Jeffries suddenly stops him. He does not want to miss this opportunity. However, Pemba resists too strongly, so Professor Jeffries cuts the safety rope himself. In the middle of the snowstorm, Professor Jeffries quickly disappears from sight. Not only that, the abominable snowman stands right in front of Pemba. Before he can react, the ice suddenly cracks and pushes him into danger. Fortunately, Pemba quickly takes out his climbing tools and manages to hold on. The abominable snowman leaves after seeing Pemba fall. Meanwhile, Mystery Inc. take a vacation in the capital of France. Daphne focuses on showing off her new outfits, while Fred feels excited because he uses an advanced phone for the first time. Velma reads the newspaper and feels surprised by the news that a man claims he sees the abominable snowman on a mountain peak. However, Daphne shows no interest because the purpose of this trip is to relax. At that moment, Fred realizes that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are late. It turns out that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy board the wrong plane, which prevents them from arriving in Paris. Instead, they fly over the Himalayas. Besides Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, the plane also carries the pilot and Alphonse. Alphonse is a hunter, and his purpose on this flight is to hunt the abominable snowman. He also persuades Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to follow him because he intends to use them as bait. However, Alphonse does not expect that the food he uses to lure them runs out so quickly. Seeing this, he lies and says that he will take them to a VIP room. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy innocently follow him, and as a result they are locked inside a cargo crate. Next, the crate is thrown straight out of the plane. Fortunately, Alphonse equips it with an emergency parachute, so Scooby-Doo and Shaggy remain temporarily safe. However, they do not realize that the parachute gets caught on a sharp rock. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy now notice that the phone keeps ringing. Fred quickly asks where they are, and they reply that they are in the Himalayas. Before Scooby-Doo and Shaggy can continue speaking, the phone loses signal, so Fred switches to GPS tracking. Mystery Inc. immediately panic when they learn that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are in danger. There is no more time to waste, so Mystery Inc. quickly gets into the mystery machine. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy's parachute tears apart, but fortunately they are not injured. At the same time, in a small village of Pemba, the villagers evacuate because of rumors about the abominable snowman. Professor Jeffries also returns and apologizes to Pemba for his previous disagreement. However, he still has no intention of giving up the search for the lost city, although Pemba reminds him about the abominable snowman. Professor Jeffries shows no fear. At that moment, Minga appears and makes Pemba worried because she is his younger sister. Although Pemba tells Minga to leave the village, she stubbornly refuses to listen and does not believe in the abominable snowman. Minga says that since childhood, Pemba always frightens her with stories about the abominable snowman. So now that she grows up, she no longer believes in it. While the two siblings argue, they suddenly hear a scream. However, this time it does not belong to the abominable snowman but to Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. The two of them crash straight into the village, but fortunately they remain safe and unharmed. Professor Jeffries, Pemba and Minga quickly run to check on them when the High Lama suddenly appears. He feels furious because the monastery is closed, yet someone still enters it. However, the moment the High Lama sees Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, his attitude changes dramatically. He is no longer angry. Instead, he invites both of them for tea. At first, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy feel suspicious, but the freezing weather makes it impossible for them to refuse a cup of hot tea. Next, Shaggy asks to borrow a phone, but the High Lama replies that they do not have modern conveniences here. Meanwhile, in a playful moment, Scooby-Doo accidentally reveals a secret room of the High Lama, which makes Shaggy angry because he wants Scooby-Doo to find something more useful, such as a refrigerator full of food. The High Lama then tells them about the statue of the abominable snowman, which once lives in a snow cave on a high mountain peak. Professor Jeffries wants to take a closer look at the crystal in the statue's hand, but the High Lama drives him away. To him, the crystal is extremely sacred because its mystical light protects the monastery from the creature's evil power. At that moment, Alphonse finds Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. The two do not want to become bait, so they run away. As Scooby-Doo and Shaggy consider returning home, Minga unexpectedly suggests going to the MT Everest weather station, where there is a phone so they can contact Mystery Inc. However, Pimba does not want his sister to be in danger, so he tells her to go down the mountain. He and Professor Jeffries lead the way, and Alphonse also insists on joining them. Before everyone sets off, the High Llama warns them that the Abominable Snowman is the guardian of protected places, and those who try to uncover hidden secrets meet a tragic fate. After that, they begin heading toward the weather station. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy feel hungry, so Alphonse takes out Scooby Snacks. A whole crate full of Scooby Snacks makes it impossible for Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to refuse. Not only that, while playing around, the two accidentally discover numerous explosives belonging to Professor Jeffries, which makes him panic and quickly hide them. They do not realize that the Abominable Snowman watches them from afar. As they climb higher, the air becomes thinner and Scooby-Doo and Shaggy begin to struggle to breathe. The weather station is already within sight, so Pimba encourages them to keep going. Only then does everyone realize that Minga secretly follows behind them. Pimba becomes extremely angry because he worries about her safety. Minga explains that she hears about a terrible snowstorm that is about to pass through this area, so she chases after them to warn them. However, Pimba realizes that Minga is fascinated with a weather reporter at the station, and her reason for following them is to meet the man she admires. But that is only partly true, because Minga's warning soon becomes reality. The snowstorm appears right before their eyes, so they have no choice but to camp overnight. Hearing this, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy complain because they keep running into bad luck. After a while, the snowstorm gradually subsides, and Professor Jeffries suddenly separates from the group and sneaks away alone. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy divide responsibilities to watch out for the Abominable Snowman. Scooby-Doo guards outside while Shaggy rests. However, as soon as Scooby-Doo hears the roar of the Abominable Snowman, he rushes into the tent. Alphonse becomes excited because he finally has the chance to encounter it. He quickly drags Scooby-Doo and Shaggy outside and uses them as bait to lure the Abominable Snowman toward the traps he sets earlier. Only now do Scooby-Doo and Shaggy realize that Alphonse is not a tour guide but a hunter. The two feel extremely angry when the Abominable Snowman suddenly appears behind them and forces them to run. Not only that, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy accidentally trigger the traps ahead, which makes the situation even worse. As a result, Alphonse gets caught in the very traps he sets himself. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy have to dodge the traps while trying to escape from the Abominable Snowman. They quickly think of disguising themselves as Santa Claus and pretending to deliver gifts to distract it, taking advantage of a brief moment when the Abominable Snowman does not pay attention. They throw a sack over it. However, the Abominable Snowman does not let them escape so easily and continues chasing them. This time, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy pretend to go fishing to lure the Abominable Snowman into another trap. After that, they hide inside one of the igloos. They seize the moment when it is distracted and try to escape, but they are still discovered. Soon the noise wakes Pimba. Before he understands what is happening, he has to run and accidentally steps into one of Alphonse's traps. At the same time, the Abominable Snowman blocks Scooby-Doo and Shaggy's path. Just as they do not know what to do next, the ice suddenly cracks and carries them away from the Abominable Snowman. Although they fall several meters down, the thick layers of snow cushion them, so Scooby-Doo and Shaggy remain safe. Not only that, they are fortunately spotted by someone they know, who is Del Chillman. He quickly helps Scooby-Doo and Shaggy into his vehicle to warm up, even though Alphonse sees Del leave with them right in front of him. He does not feel worried because he believes that the Abominable Snowman will certainly continue chasing Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Before long, Del brings Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to the weather station. However, a fierce snowstorm cuts off the signal, so the phone does not work. After not seeing each other since the legend of the Loch Ness Monster, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy eagerly ask Del about his current work. Del explains that the Loch Ness Monster no longer appears, so he now searches for the Abominable Snowman instead. In addition, he works as a weather reporter. The job feels dull to him because he believes no one ever listens. Still, he admits that someone once sent him a gift along with a heartfelt confession letter, which gives him new motivation. Suddenly, Del comes up with an idea. He invites Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to appear as special guests on today's broadcast, while he helps search for the rest of Mystery Inc. Before leaving, he warns them to lock the doors and stay alert in case the Abominable Snowman shows up. At the same time, Mystery Inc. arrives at the village Scooby-Doo and Shaggy previously visit. A villager preparing to evaluate tells them about the Abominable Snowman. When they search the monastery, they find a box of Scooby Snacks, the only proof that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are here. Velma discovers their footprints and senses that the next clue lies further ahead in the thinning air. As they follow the trail, they notice another set of tracks. One footprint is larger than any Velma has ever seen, yet it sinks only half as deep as a normal adult footprint. Suddenly they hear cries for help. They rush toward the sound and find Pemba trapped in one of Alphonse's snares all night. After freeing him, Pemba recounts everything. Professor Jeffries sneaks out and Minga disappears without leaving a single footprint behind. Just then Velma finds Minga's radio and hears the voices of Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. They temporarily replace Dell on the broadcast. Unaware of the danger, they do not realize the abominable snowman already tracks them. Only when Scooby-Doo points behind them does Shaggy understand the threat. With no other choice, they bolt the moment the creature breaks inside. The abominable snowman chases them into a storage warehouse. Thinking quickly, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy disguise themselves as servers and present a plate of food made of snow. The creature interprets this as mockery and grows furious. They attempt another disguise, blending in as snowmen, but when the abominable snowman unleashes a thunderous roar, the vibration causes all the snowmen to collapse and melt apart. Next they stage a mock boxing match. Against all odds, Scooby-Doo manages to punch the abominable snowman backward, yet the blow is far from enough and the chase resumes. They scramble up a utility pole, only to realize there is nowhere left to run. Through the radio, Pemba and Mystery Inc. hear their desperate cries and split up immediately. Daphne and Pemba head off to search for Minga while Velma and Fred race toward the weather station. Meanwhile, the abominable snowman prepares to strike. Alphonse suddenly intervenes. Though he arrives just in time, he lasts barely 3 seconds before the creature hurls him aside. Refusing to surrender, he reaches for his tranquilizer gun, but misfortune follows him again as the ice beneath his feet cracks. At the same time, the utility pole cannot bear the weight of Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, so it snaps. As they fall, Scooby-Doo accidentally activates a hot air balloon, giving them a narrow chance at survival. Even while Scooby-Doo is airborne, he somehow grabs loose snow and flings it into the abominable snowman's face. Shaggy clings to him and together they drift away from danger. Velma and Fred arrive at the weather station but do not find Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Instead, they reunite with Dell. The three descend to investigate and discover the area reduced to rubble. They begin to question why the abominable snowman targets Scooby-Doo and Shaggy so relentlessly. Then Velma notices that several helium tanks are missing. At the same time, Dell studies the seismometer and realizes its readings fluctuate abnormally. The device detects a strange vibrational frequency deep within the mountain. Something far greater is stirring beneath the snow. Meanwhile, Daphne and Pemba search for Minga inside a cave when they suddenly spot a helium tank. This makes Daphne suspicious as she believes the abominable snowman may be controlled by a human. At the same time, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy float in midair. Scooby-Doo tries to land but accidentally causes them to rise even higher. As soon as the helium in the balloon runs out, they fall straight down. Fortunately, they remain unharmed despite falling from hundreds of meters. Moreover, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy unexpectedly encounter a familiar figure. At first, they are frightened because they think he might be the spirit of the old priest, but he immediately replies that he is not. The old priest explains that he is still alive, and his youthful appearance comes from protecting Shangri-La, the lost city that Professor Jeffries is desperately trying to find. The scenery inside is completely different from the outside as it is extremely magnificent. The old priest states that people can possess eternal youth in Shangri-La. At the same time, Velma, Fred, and Dell search for Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and nearly fall into a ravine. Velma realizes that the vibrations definitely originate from below, so the three climb down. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy adapt to the environment in Shangri-La. As they prepare to brush their teeth, they suddenly encounter the abominable snowman again and have to run away. This time they escape in a minecart. Before long, 3 tracks appear ahead of them. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy do not know which path to choose when Velma, Fred, and Dell suddenly appear, followed by Daphne and Pemba. However, this is not the time to celebrate because tremors begin. Everyone quickly runs in one direction and unexpectedly discovers a crystal cave. They also see Professor Jeffries placing numerous explosives among the crystals in order to obtain one for himself. Seeing this, Fred comes up with a plan to capture him. As Professor Jeffries prepares his belongings to leave the cave, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy suddenly take the crystal. When he tries to get it back, the two run away to create an opportunity for Fred to catch him. At first, Mystery Inc. believes they capture the culprit, but they do not realize that the abominable snowman appears behind them. It quickly chases Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, so Mystery Inc. has to follow closely, while Professor Jeffries takes the opportunity to escape. Meanwhile, the chase unfolds from 3 sides. The Abominable Snowman pursues Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Mystery Inc. pursues the Abominable Snowman. Before long, the creature manages to leap ahead of them, but Scooby-Doo and Shaggy keep appearing and disappearing along the tracks, leaving it unsure which way to follow. In addition, Professor Jeffries joins the pursuit in an attempt to reclaim the crystal. He not only disconnects the coupling between the two mine carts, but also switches those behind him onto a different track. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy see this and continue chasing him. Meanwhile, the Abominable Snowman jumps out of the cart because the track ahead is a dead end. At the same time, the others escape from the cave, and thanks to the thick snow outside, they stop safely without injury. Everyone realizes that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are still inside the cave, so Fred suggests setting a trap to capture the Abominable Snowman. Meanwhile, Professor Jeffries celebrates obtaining the crystal when Scooby-Doo and Shaggy suddenly appear beside him. The Abominable Snowman then crashes straight into Professor Jeffries' cart. As Shaggy complains that he cannot see anything, Scooby-Doo lights a match. He accidentally ignites the explosives, so both of them immediately run away. It was an extremely careless mistake. The explosion triggers an avalanche and forces Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to flee once again, despite having only simple tools. They still manage to catch up with the Abominable Snowman and Professor Jeffries. Meanwhile, the rest complete Fred's trap, but they do not expect Scooby-Doo and Shaggy to slide down first. So the trap unexpectedly becomes a support platform for both of them. At the same time, the Abominable Snowman tries to cling to the minecart, but Professor Jeffries cuts the rope. However, he celebrates too soon and fails to notice what lies ahead, so he ends up falling straight into Fred's trap. Only then does everyone realize that the snow is starting to avalanche, and they immediately run for safety. Velma and Dell do not react in time and are in danger when the Abominable Snowman suddenly appears. It quickly grabs both of them and inflates its body, lifting them up and carrying them out of the avalanche. At this moment, Velma and Dell realize that this is not the real Abominable Snowman. The person inside the costume is Minga, which shocks everyone. Velma then explains that Minga uses helium to inflate the suit, making it lighter so the creature's footprints do not sink deeply into the snow despite its large size. Although Minga disguises herself as the Abominable Snowman, she has no intention of harming anyone. Her goal is to prevent Dell from ending his show so she can continue hearing his voice. When Minga confesses her feelings, Dell accepts them and they officially start dating. Meanwhile, Professor Jeffries exploits the legend of the Abominable Snowman to conceal his plan to steal the crystal, so he is arrested. Shaggy feels relieved that the Abominable Snowman is only a legend, but Alphonse suddenly appears and disagrees. He explains that while he is unconscious, a giant shadow saves him. When he regains consciousness, the shadow disappears, so he believes the Abominable Snowman truly exists. After solving the mystery, Mystery Inc. return to their vacation in France, this time accompanied by Dell and Minga. However, they soon realize that Fred is missing. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy quickly call him to check on him, and Fred reveals that he accidentally wanders into the Amazon rainforest. Upon hearing this, Mystery Inc. rush to the van and set off to rescue Fred.